Hi Philippe, and Happy New Year.
Hi Clément. Best wishes for you and your relatives for this new year.
After an eventful year in 2025, we are now looking ahead to 2026, which comes with its own set of challenges and political economic changes. In this new episode of the Economic Perspective, we'll explore several key issues that you believe might shape the upcoming year and beyond. From Europe's search for unity to potential political and economic upheavals in the US, as well as significant developments in the tech sector, the stakes are high. Given that many find this context unclear, our aim is for you to share some insights to help us navigate these various points. To kick things off, Europe is at a crucial juncture, increasingly aware of the need for unity and autonomy. Geopolitical tensions, especially regarding Ukraine, alongside geoeconomic challenges, are pushing Europe to solidify its stance on global issues. What are the driving forces behind this resurgence in Europe, and what consequences might it have for the continent's future?
Europe is now at a specific point. The world is polarized now. We have China, US, and Europe. What has been seen in 2025 is that Europe said we are very dependent on the US on the economic side, on technology, for example. What we've seen at the end of the year is that many Europeans said we have to be independent on the political side. That's very important, to be able to decide what we want and when we want to do it. That's new, and that's something that we have to focus on in 2026. We have to be independent on the economic side, which is complicated, but we have to be able to decide what we really want to do in Europe. The second point is that we have to take to put in place all the means we need to be autonomous. 1 year and a half, Mario Draghi published a report saying we have to innovate, we have to invest. We really have to do it now to be able to decide as we wish to do. The third point is about Ukraine. We don't know what will happen in Ukraine in the coming years, but we know that Russia will still be a source of anxiety, of uncertainty for Europe. So we have to be able to respond to whatever the situation could be with Russia. And the fourth point is that we all need to be united in Europe. We need to have the same answer to every question we have. That will be a strong task because we have Slovakia, because we have Hungary, because we have Italy, and we have to follow the same rule. We need to have the same answers relative to the US, to China, and whatever. That will be the main task for 2026 in Europe.
Looking for the West, the US is also facing a variety of challenges. The potential replacement of Jay Powell as head of the Fed, influenced by directives from Donald Trump, could notably reshape US monetary policy. What directions can we anticipate, and what might be the international fallout?
On financial market, the main source of concern in 2026 will be the new Fed president. Jay Powell will leave as president in May 2026. We will know the new guy in February because he has to go to the Congress to be validated. What will be interesting is what his target in terms of monetary policy, but the most interesting point will be what Trump will do with the Fed. We know that the Fed is an independent institution, but we know that it has been criticized by Donald Trump, and we know that people around Donald Trump want to reduce its independence. So that's very important to know what will be the task of the new president, and we will know that not before May 2026. The third point we need to discuss is about stablecoins. In summer 2025, a law, the Genius Act, put stablecoin in the forefront of all the instruments the US can use to expand the dollar strength all over the world. And they will do it. And it's important because it means that the dollar has to be reinforced in every segment of the world economy through stablecoin. And what is our concern in Europe is what will be our answer, our response to these stablecoins. There are two issues. One is that in Europe, Visa and MasterCard are the kind of monopoly in payment institutions. We have to change that. It's very important. And for that, the European Central Bank said we will do a numerical euro. It's important to do that. But the fragility of this construction is that it will not take place before 2029. And in that case, stablecoin will expand a lot until this moment. So we have to accelerate our view on electronic currency in Europe to keep the sovereignty of euro and to be able to be more autonomous in terms of monetary policy, in terms of economic policy in general. So that's a very important task for 2026 for the European Central Bank. We have to have this electronic euro in coming months, not in coming years.
If Europe is at a turning point, America will also face a defining moment in November 2026 with the midterm elections. How could this electoral process impact American democracy, the internal dynamics within the country, and more generally, the role of the US on the global stage?
Midterm election in next November will be very important because it will show how American citizens accept or reject the choice that has been made by the White House. But what we have to keep in mind is that from what we've seen in 2025 is that the executive in the US is stronger than it used to be. The Congress has a lower power that it used to have. And so this in 2026, probably this imbalance will increase. And that's why the result of the election, the midterm election, will be very important. What we have to keep in mind is that whatever the result of this election, this midterm election, is that Trump will improve its power. Legally, if he wins the midterm election, or not necessarily totally legally if he doesn't win them. And so remember, at the end of 2025, there was a strategic report that has been published by the Secretary of State in the US, saying what is our strategy in the US relative to Latin America, Europe, China. Whatever the situation, this strategic report will be put in place. And if Trump wins the midterm election, they go quite linearly. If it is not the case, probably it will be different, and it will have a strong impact on everywhere in the world, in China, in Latin America. We've already seen that with Venezuela, but it could have a strong impact also in Europe. So midterm election, whatever the result of this election, will be very important. But it can be very democratic, it can be less democratic, more autocratic. And that's a real issue for all of us.
On a broader scale, there's no denying the significant climate of political, geopolitical, and geoeconomic tensions worldwide. In this context, we can't ignore the possibility of a destabilizing political event that might reshape global dynamics. How do you see this developing?
What is new in 2026 is that there is no event that has a probability 0. Everything is possible. That's new. We thought that democracy was a strong situation in the US. It's no longer the case. We thought that international rule will be followed by everyone. This is no longer the case. We've seen that in Venezuela. So, situation could change, and balance of strength could have a strong impact on the global economy, on the global world in the coming months. And that's very important. We've seen Venezuela, but we could see Greenland, we could see Mexico, we could see Colombia, we could see Taiwan changing their political situation in coming months. So we have to imagine that what was not thinkable is being thinkable. And with different impact. We know that for Venezuela, the main target was oil. But if we think of Taiwan, it's very different. Taiwan is the main producer of semiconductor. If China is taking part of Taiwan, we don't know exactly how it could do that, but most of their semiconductor will not be exported in the rest of the world. It could have a very, very strong impact. So we have to think about that. The second point we have to think is that people think that assassination could happen. We've seen that with Kirk in 2025. We see that in American history, this type of situation has been seen many times, not necessarily with president. We have seen president, but not necessarily. We have seen some member of the Congress that has been assassinated. Something like that could happen. This is something, when you discuss with American people, that's something people have in mind. And it could have a long-lasting impact on US democracy, but also in the rest of the world. But we can think that in other parts of the world, this type of situation could arise. That's new, and that's very important to have that in mind.
Lastly, let's zoom in on the tech sector, which also has the power to disrupt existing balances. What should we anticipate from this area? As technology's influence on the global economy continues to grow, should we prepare for financial and industrial adjustments? What implications might this have for financial markets and the global economy as a whole?
Technology is mainly AI. We've seen that in 2025. So 5 points on AI. The first is that we all expect that AI will gather all the innovation we've seen in the last 20 or 30 years. We have all seen improved productivity at our own level. But we have not seen improved productivity at the global level. We all expect that AI will have a strong and positive impact and long-lasting impact on productivity at the global level. That's important. The second point is that at the business cycle level, the US has seen its own situation improved dramatically due to AI for 2 reasons. One is corporate investment that has been pushed up by AI first, and the second is linked to consumption. What have we seen? The stock market was up, so the wealth of the rich US citizen has improved dramatically. And though they have spent a lot, now the 10% with the highest income in the US spend almost 50% on consumption. It's huge. So in the short term, it has had a very positive impact. The third point is that we have a kind of circular situation in technology. We have these companies that invest in this one, that invest in this one, etc. The question we have is that is there in all these companies, from NVIDIA to OpenAI or other, is there a weak link? Which one? We know that some companies are very strong, but probably in this environment, there is 1, 2, or 3 companies that are weaker than the other. Will they disappear without impact, or will they push down all the construction? That's a question. The fourth point is on the valuation of the US market. Tech has had a strong impact on the Standard & Poor's valuation, and it has had a strong impact on US citizen portfolio. What will happen if we have an adjustment? It could be very important because we've seen some companies like NVIDIA or others with thousands of dollars, of billions of dollars of valuation. That's huge. If we have some adjustment, it will have a strong impact on everyone's portfolio. So that's an important issue. And what we have to keep in mind is that what Ken Rogoff and Carmen Reinhardt said in a book in 2009, saying when we have a bubble, a financial bubble, we all think that at this moment, when the bubble is building, we all think that it is different. We all think that AI is different, AI bubble is different. What we've seen from the past, from all the past, it is that it is never different. The fifth issue is that probably the Fed monetary policy has been conditioned by the market valuation. To avoid a crash, the Fed has been very accommodative. It has lowered its interest rates, and it has stopped the quantitative tightening. So this leads to a kind of disequilibrium, a kind of imbalance that will have effect in 2026.
To wrap things up, given that the trends you've highlighted depict a world where managing future power dynamics will become increasingly crucial, what key takeaways would you like us to remember in order to better navigate these upcoming shifts?
What we have to keep in mind is that the world is in a new environment. We have to rebuild all the world. The situation is new. What we had in the past, where everyone was having a cooperative, coordinated behavior, is probably a specificity of that time. It's not what we've seen in the past, in the history. What we've seen is that everyone has to do choices, has to improve its own situation, and it can lead to wars, it can lead to many things we can imagine. The history is not deterministic. We will have non-linearity, we will have acceleration of the history, because things will change. When we see what has happened in Venezuela at the beginning of 2026, we can imagine many things for the months and the year to come. And that's what we have to reshape our mindset on our environment. And that's our task to imagine and to analyze what's happening. That's fascinating. But we see that in the coming years, the situation will be very different from what we had in the past. And that's what we have to keep in mind, and to be able to think about that, to be able to adapt our behavior to this new environment.
Thank you, Philippe. All the best for this new year, and see you soon for additional insights from Ostrom Asset Management.
Thank you, Clément.